Alright, so I have my neighbor, Miss Christie, who is a teacher at Russell Elementary, and my issue is child abuse. What do you think the punishment should be for child abuse?
It depends on the type of child abuse, but I definitely think it should include education, some form of punishment in that they need to repay for the deed that they have done, like they need to go to jail or be removed from the home, and definitely needs to be focused on the welfare of the family, not just the abuser or the child who's being abused.
Okay. What law would you put into place to help prevent child abuse?
Well, some of the current laws we have are appropriate in that there is an agency such as DFACS that deals with it, but I do think that the amount of caseworkers to these agencies needs to be increased. So I would influence the laws to see more people available to handle the situation.
Okay. Why do you think child abuse is still an issue today?
Well, I think it's an issue that goes back as far as time, but I think that we are aware of it more now because people talk about it a little more openly, and that's a good thing. And I believe that it still exists due to the cycle being unbroken in certain families and lack of education and training among those individuals.
What kind of training do you have? Oh, my bad. What kind of training do you think teachers should have to help to be able to spot child abuse in the classroom?
Well, we currently have a yearly in-service provided by social workers and our counselors, which I think is good, but I also think it would be beneficial to have a more hands-on interventional type training with people who are on the front lines of dealing with child abuse, such as DFACS workers, policemen, EMT workers, so that we could be more effective in how we handle it within the school system.
So going along with that, what kind of training as a teacher do you have to help spot it?
Well, we are given mainly in services that focus on written materials. We're given a few like videos that show signs of abuse and how to spot it, but nothing direct in regards to prior abuse victims or the frontline workers.
What do you think a child abuser should do to be able to get their child back?
Again, it depends on the type of abuse. There's sexual abuse, there's physical abuse, there's mental abuse, and then there's neglect. In order that I listed from most severe to least severe. And in the most severe cases, I personally, like sexual and physical abuse, do not believe that they should have unsupervised visitation ever with their minor. So they can have contact, but it must be in a supervised manner. Now, in the cases of mental abuse and neglect, which can be just as harmful, however not physically, but the long-term effects can be just as lasting, I think that family education and counseling and, if need be, removal of the parent from the child should be part of the punishment, but most of the times in cases of neglect or mental abuse, it is due to lack of education and exposure on the parental part, and not a strictly punishment orientation that the parent has, like I'm going to purposefully hurt this child. In cases of neglect and mental abuse, that's not often the culprit.
Kind of went ahead and entered my next question. What, in your opinion, is child abuse?
Well, like I said, there's the 4 types. There's sexual abuse, which I won't get into graphic detail, but that can be male on male, male on female, can be from parent to child, can be from family member to child, can be, I've seen it even child on child, and then I've seen it from strangers to the victim. And then there is physical abuse, which encompasses everything from an over-the-top spanking to beating them senseless, or just grabbing. I've seen burn marks. I've seen children who've complained that parents throw things like their iPads or their car keys at a child's face, which results in cuts and scrapes. And then there's the type of abuse mentally where they degrade the child, make the child feel bad about themselves, call the children names, excessive profanity in front of the child where the child can overhear it. And then there is neglect, where the child is overlooked or malnourished or not cleansed properly, to the extent that it impacts the child's physical well-being.
Next question. How would you handle a child who is being abused in your class?
Well, you let the child speak about whatever whatever they want to tell you openly, by asking them open-ended questions, not very specific questions. And then we are mandatory reporters in the school system. So we have to, at that point, then go on and report it to an administrator in our school system. And if you are an administrator in the school system, then you must make a report to DFACS within 24 hours or, of the working week. Like if the child reports it on Friday, then Friday afternoon, of course, DFACS is closed. So we have to report it Monday morning unless it is considered a dire life and death situation, at which point we are mandated to call 911 if we feel that the child is in immediate danger of death.
How would you handle a case where the adult has a mental illness such as PTSD?
Well, oftentimes that is the case, especially with your lesser forms of physical abuse, mental abuse, or neglect. And you still have to make the report because it is the child's welfare that must be considered first. Secondly, it is the welfare, I believe, of the family. If you're dealing with an adult that has diminished mental capacity or diminished faculties and capabilities to deal with child rearing, then we must step in as professionals to help educate and correct the entire family unit and functional system, not just remove the child, and because there's always other victims that abuser could affect if we don't address the issue, at its root cause.
Okay, and the final question, since you are a mother, where do you draw the line between punishment and child abuse?
Well, punishment is mainly about teaching and rectifying a situation so that the child can learn from it. Abuse is generally aimed at harming the child or, you know, trying to make the child feel worse, not better. So, and in the same vein, punishment has as its goal improved behavior. And abuse has as its goal generally stopping a behavior that the abuser deems wrong or inappropriate. It's not aimed at changing behavior, it's just an easier fix. Let's just stop it right now because I'm bigger, you know, or I'm going to get what I want because I'm bigger. And it's not aimed at helping the child at all. Whereas punishment, used effectively, can change the child's behavior and make the situation better, not worse, for the child. So,
Thank you, Ms. Christie.
all right.